humans are like inclined to strive for more, more of whatever it is, and I don't mean more as in materialistic things. I mean more just like, hey, I want to go from A to Z in my life. And then we create these archetypes on this, like the hero's journey and, going through these different trials and
Mm.
tribulations. And what if we don't need to go through those anymore? And like, what if they're just stories in our head? And then the mind is dead. It's like, what if we don't even think anymore? We don't need to think about anything because everything's done for us. It's like, then what do we then create an artificial reality in where we're doing the same thing we're doing now? And this is what they talk about when it comes to Alan Watts says on one of his things, right? He says, if you were to live 1,000 lives of the life that you could choose, in the end, you would choose the life that you're currently living right now, right? So would we then create, and this could be maybe where we even came from. It's like, are we living in an AI simulation? And what I mean by that is, did the people that created this simulation create a simulation before this, and before that, and before that? Because originally, they created the complete end of artificial intelligence and automation of our lives, that everything was covered for us. We lost meaning. So then we created an artificial reality to then create meaning in, right? Like, what if that's what we're in right now? It's like we created this randomness and chaos to then repeat this cycle of creating something again to then repeat it again, because otherwise we would lose our minds.
Man, yeah, that's interesting. You're saying like you're like hypothesizing about the potential of people living in a virtual world, and you're also hypothesizing about the idea that we could be also living in a slightly artificial world in the current moment. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying specifically that humans, our nature is that which doesn't. How do I phrase this properly? Who we are as humans is founded in our inability, and specifically, we do
Mm-hmm.
things in order to get somewhere, which gives us meaning, and we create this life in our heads, right? Let's say, for example, I'm depressed. I then have a mission, I have a purpose, right? Depression isn't, I understand depression isn't always having a purpose, but if you're feeling, sad, it's like, what am I feeling sad for? Then you realize it's this, or you have this realization, this insight, and then you feel a hit of dopamine, or, where it might be, or, you're excited to go to a party because you get to meet that girl, or you get to connect and have fun. It's like, there's all these things that we look forward to that make us do things, that motivate us, that drive us, that change us, that make us go outside of who we are. And what happens when we don't need to strive because everything is covered? Because that's where we're going. Like, when you have the perfect healthcare, you don't have a health journey. When you have the perfect, dealing with your childhood trauma based on exactly what you need, scans your brain, checks out your memories, and turns a switch, so to speak, and you process that, and you feel peace in your body, or I'm just going through examples here, or you're striving for a materialistic goal. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be a multi-millionaire. Like, look at the journey that I went through. Look at this trials and tribulations I went through, and I made $1 million this year, whatever this is, and I'm gonna have a podcast about, I'm gonna do this. All these things stem from this journey, right? But what if that journey never happens because we're so efficient with artificial intelligence, the way we do things? And then when that happens, we are just like, I've got everything that I want, absolutely everything that I want. There's nothing that I need. Then you have one feeling left, which is like, I need to create that reality again. So we reach the 0 point. The axis then turns. It's like, I have gotten everything that I want, and my life is, and maybe you can just turn that off as well. Maybe you just become a robot. I don't know. But you reach a point, it's like, I miss how things were. Let's create a new reality where things were how they were previously, and you go back to the start of back to the start of the world again, and then you then you build up again, and then you come to this point again, boom, and you repeat and repeat and repeat, and it's like the Earth is giving birth to the Earth
Mm.
over and over again, and then it's the multiverse, it's continuum of different realities with different people, but different same people but different names, and like the Spideyverse kind of thing.
Wow, that's pretty pretty interesting. Yeah, like yeah, you think it's gonna we're gonna slide up and then we're gonna reverse and tilt. I've never thought of that. I've always thought like we're just going to get more and more efficient. There's always more we can do to be better and more efficient. And but like maybe you're right. Maybe we do reach the state of stagnant yet so efficient yet so materially set that we will then strive for more. It's like the quote of, you know, if humans were left to just eat cakes and busy themselves to procreate and whatnot, they would destroy that reality just to add a little bit of interesting flavor to their lives. If they don't have to do anything, it's going to drive them insane. So yeah, it's kind of probably the same point you're making right there. It's interesting.
And so you get to a point where like destruction isn't enough because you can just create that, right? So you don't destroy something to create something. You just create something new because you have the resources to do it. And this is going to sound weird, but something can't exist without nothing. So in our attempt, like, and what I mean by this is in the absence of, so efficiency only exists with inefficiency. You can only make something more efficient if it's inefficient. But if everything's efficient and everything is the way it's supposed to be and it's coordinated exactly to how we want it, like the room temperature is exactly how we want it, or, you know, all our organs are working at 100% levels, whatever it is. Like, look at Brian Johnson, this guy who spends $2 million a year on his health. So what's the solution there? It's like making it cheaper. But he spends $2 million a year on his health, right? And he's got 100% health. And he's just like, he lives his whole life in accordance to what the metrics say for him to do. Like, do this. Like, you need to have these foods and you need to have these supplements. And he does that exactly. And he's like, all of his markers are at 100% health almost. So, you know, and so the point I'm making is like, well, if you can do that with your health and over time can get more efficient where it's like free and your health is then perfect, then what do you have left to do with your health? It's like, well, then we can increase age. It's like, okay, then what if you do that? What if we then, you know, install solar panels on our skin, like miniature solar panels on our skin to then absorb the sun and then live off the sun forever? You know, eventually the cosmos is going to collide in itself and collapse. I understand that. But what if we stop that as well, you know? So there's always a mission, I get that. But eventually there's not going to be a mission because what's there to strive towards? We've been striving towards this moment in our lives, in humanity since the beginning of time. So
pretty much.
So then isn't this even weird, right? So if we've been striving, if we've gotten to this point from the beginning of time, why are we heading towards this point? Like, what is leading us to this end point? Like, what is it? Why are we striving for this? Why aren't we striving for no artificial intelligence? Why aren't we striving for, you know, so what these biological drivers that we have been built in us over time, or perhaps from the beginning of time, and they've led us to where we are now. So was this random or was this created from something? And who or why wants us to go to this place? Is it because it's an artificial reality and then, you know, someone's want to create this thing over and over again? Is it just a repeat of the past? So yeah, this is what I think about.
Man, I could see how you could consider yourself a thought leader. These are some pretty interesting thoughts that make sense, to be honest, in a lot of ways. And you never know. Wow. My mind is kind of being blown at the moment, to be honest. This is interesting.
Yeah, it's all speculation. Like, you never know, right? And I think the one thing that will stop us is the egos of people in power. Like, you know, what happens if Xi Jinping decides to invade Taiwan? Then there's a World War III, and then nuclear bombs go off. Then, okay, yeah, see ya. That's it.
Yep.
But if we get through this, if we get through the next 30, 40 years, we'll be fine. Like, we'll reach this point of like perfect beingness. And it's like, then all of the books that we've read, all the things that we've done, I guess they got us there in the first place. I understand that. We'll all be in a place of like, the mind is dead. The body's dead. Consciousness is dead. Like, what do we do? Like, I don't know. I can't answer that. I can't even imagine that. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe like we get to a point and it's like, we need to do this one thing. Like, we need to, I don't know, the sun's expanding all of a sudden. We need to like stop the sun. We don't have the resources to do that. But eventually everything's conquered. It's like humans have just conquered nature, right? I don't mean nature in the sense of like destroying nature. I mean, literally conquering nature in the sense of, you know, we're at the whims of nature in the past. The cold, the heat, animals, you know, like, and we are animals. Well, I understand that. Poison, you know, like, you know, we're at the whims of nature. We conquered nature. Now we're conquering, technology. It's like, at what point do we stop? Like, when do we say, like, and maybe that's where we go to. Maybe we get to a point where we say to ourselves, we know exactly what's going to happen in the next 10 years if we carry on this path. Let's selectively choose to stop this so we can keep up the illusion of progress to therefore keep humans happy.
Man, yeah, that's interesting. Like, I wonder if there's always going to be a point where it's like, we can increase by 1%, 1%, 1%, or if there really will be a ceiling. Because, like, in my mind, I guess the whole continuous improvement, there's always a little bit more you can do. There's always, 1% each day, for personal development, maybe for business growth, maybe for technological growth. But maybe if it's going 400% a day, we're going to hit some kind of max. And yeah, I wonder. That's
1%
interesting.
to where?
But that's the thing. There might be 100% that is that end. But
so a percent is a number of something.
Right? Go ahead.
I was going to say a percentage is a number.
Yeah, it is.
It's
it couldn't be of infinity.
Yeah, because 1% leads. So where's the 100% point? Is it 1,000% you're aiming towards? So what is that like? And when you reach that point, what do you do then? It's like, well, you create another thing that's like, so what if you've done that millions of times over and over again, and we've been doing that now for so long that we're at a point where it's like, I have nothing that I need to achieve. And maybe that's enlightenment. Maybe that's what enlightenment is. But what if enlightenment didn't have to be worked towards? It was just that way naturally. And there wasn't. What if there wasn't death? There wasn't need to die because we didn't have to die because we live forever. Then it's like, I need to process my death. You're then amortal, right? You only die from accidents, but then maybe we can fix that as well. So anyways, That's just what I'm thinking about these days. It's just like, I don't know, where's this going to go?
Wow. That's a great point. It seems like in that position, people might actually wonder what death is really like and make it happen to them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm tired of living forever and having no, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like that could be the path. Like, I heard a quote that was like, I wouldn't want to live forever. Living forever seems like a hell on earth in some ways, because you hit that stagnant point and like there's no more for you. At a point, you've kind of reached the journey's end, and your soul / body / mind knows it. And no matter how technologically advanced, it seems like we're still going to all come to a point where it's like, I've walked enough steps, I've said enough things, my time is now. I feel like that's the case probably for me. I'm young now, but later in life. But maybe I've just been programmed to think that because, people die at 80, but then I'm going to live through it. But it's like, no, people live to 278. People live to 325 these days. And I'm like, But who knows?